Good afternoon to you. This is Good Afternoon Ghana coming live to you from the PNews studios here at Northridge. My name is Helen Anyeweja. It's now time for the news update segment of Good Afternoon Ghana. Coming up this afternoon. Multiple injured as military truck carrying deployed Ghana Armed Forces personnel to Boku collide head-on with a State Transport Corporation bus. Also coming up, Upper West Regional Police Command secures a 20-year prison sentence for a 47-year-old man convicted of incest. Later on Good Afternoon Ghana, we will be assessing government spending on sanitation and if it is enough to tackle the sanitation crisis in the country. Details of this and more coming up shortly. Stay with us. Thank you very much for keeping us company. My name again is Helen Anyeweja, and we start from here. A military truck carrying deployed Ghana Armed Forces personnel to Boku has collided head-on with a State Transport Corporation bus at Nkekensu in the Ashanti region, triggering a multi-agency emergency response and an ongoing police investigation.
Forces vehicle and the STC bus collided at Nkekensu in the Ashanti region. The incident occurred on Sunday, July 26, as the military personnel were reportedly traveling to Boko in the Upper East region, an area where security operations are ongoing. Police officers and emergency response teams were immediately dispatched to the scene to rescue victims, provide first aid, manage traffic, and secure the area while preliminary investigations began. Authorities say investigators are gathering witness statements and examining both vehicles to determine the exact cause of the crash. Officials have also not confirmed the number of people injured or whether there were any fatalities, stressing that casualty figures and the condition of those involved will only be released after they have fully been verified. The Ghana Police Service is urging the public to avoid speculation and rely only on official updates as investigations continue. More information is expected to be released regarding the cause of the collision, the condition of the military personnel and STC passengers, and any impact the incident may have on traffic along the route.
Away from that, the flooding crisis in Atienku, Santa Maria, within the Ghana Central Municipality is deepening as residents point to what they describe as poorly constructed drainage systems and nearby developments they believe have turned every heavy rainfall into a threat. They have given the Municipal Chief Executive, Emmanuel Adotea Lotte, until the end of July 2026 to urgently roll out effective flood mitigation measures to prevent another disaster or risk risks escalating tensions and protests from the community. Metro TV's Ekia Bebio visited the area and has come through with this report.
Behind these tears is a story of loss, frustration, and a community asking a painful question: why does every heavy rainfall end in destruction? This is Santiago Santa Maria, a community that was once untouched by the devastation of floods, now at the center of growing concerns over drainage challenges and rising flood waters.
Behind me are frustrated residents of Antieku Lane 5 who say they can no longer endure the devastating impact of the persistent flooding situation in their community. I'm going to hear from them directly what their concerns are. Hi, you are live on Metro News.
Thank you.
Now, tell us how dire the situation is over here.
Choboy!
Hey!
Choboy! Hey! Yes, we are at Antieku, close to the Central Municipality. In fact, we are dying. We are dying because the whole place gets flooded when it rains. Our rooms get flooded, the roads get flooded, and the desalted gutter is choked.
As I interacted with residents, they continued to pour out their grievances, recounting how the recurring floods have disrupted their daily lives.
When it rains, they have to carry old women at the back, like as if they are babies, in order to get them out of their houses. Many times we have been given such promises. Oh, we'll do it just after the rains. We have become like the proverbial vulture. Apangai, war mamachu. Kenyon war neta. The moment the rains ends, then we are forgotten. The only thing that happens is that when there are things that happen in people's houses, water goes into people's houses, then you see Nadmo with maybe a 5 kg of rice.
Let me also move to another resident. What do you think should be done immediately to solve the situation?
Mama country what? And can I say? Assembly I had Anya so to Antieku. Municipal Assembly. Government school never high. In so sister, you need come up for beer. Yes, Ram, say near a hanka the whole Ghana a crown one among country. Ye who I bay you. In so to see ya, say a ton of drum mistro. You don't have to meet now. Maybe I would just have a ground we are. And yet, I need any pan sign you and feel you, so near Philia. In so to assembly never started so see down. I'm about to Jim pay a common fast of a jeep in May, but common fast I got among you. In so to say, Obana framework, Mijis Alote, their friends, the quarter with Alote Sedania, Nibana, and in the few ha, Mijis over Yahasi. A moody, a campaign. Kakra campaign, no more bag whistle basse, Mirunia, Mayaha, Mirina, Mayakwawe, Abamibaha, 21 good years, a com. Good. A quaway, a moon yet. A quantity yet, a quantity mofa. Gata no de se mo ye dia mo ka kire pa gwa se me ma alote July we up to August se alote am be fact excavator bi sisa na se bit afra so to kunya kupo ya boaye on fa obi ba bia ye fa ye mali bia on fa obi but se ye twa alote so bi wu asare ko fa excavator se be sira me do na kupo me siru. The
anger expressed by these residents reflects the growing frustration over what they describe as years of neglect. While some have threatened to take matters into their own hands, others say they want immediate action.
We have been neglected. Yes. Enti alote no say o enya de obetumi apie tinso oba yakwa yenhu ni say o first site bia say ahani ahana ana say area bi cheche say otumi ye adwuma ho adenti mi wadwuma mo ye
The only thing is our office one now rubbish structures at the this assembly hall.
That your platform needs, avoid using words like rubbish.
No, it's rubbish. Yes, I will use it because yet means ensure then they will tell us I've paid almost 100 million for my resident permit. The money is there. All my plans are there. They've not given me that. Here is waterlogged my food. Are they crazy?
An elder of the Church of Pentecost, Ebenezer Assembly, Alexander Nabri, also shared how the persistent flooding has affected church activities.
For the last 2 rains, in fact, it affected the church a lot. It broke all our doors, brought all the chairs out, all our instruments, everything is destroyed. And about 2 Sundays, even getting to 3 Sundays, we couldn't fellowship here.
Their stories are different, but the message is the same.
Cancer relief bibeba. Ya show ni mwa baha nad mo fo baha be choro din nanso omo choro din ko ye no yente omunka
The dua ya de to ho dua bi ada ho yi ya de to ho to the estro ho na no the esiso ni asi abrusen so ma twen but the esi ho na one is abu to the esi ho na no or the esi dua no so no obi atwen wa abrusen no so. We have just 2 weeks to end July. Therefore, if nothing is done by the end of July, then action will be taken.
For these residents, the flooding is more than a seasonal challenge. It is a recurring threat that demands a lasting solution.
Social stories this afternoon. Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has called on Ghanaians living abroad to remain united and actively contribute to the country's development, assuring them that government values their role in Ghana's progress. Addressing members of Ghanaian community in Maryland, the Vice President commended them for their positive representation of the country, noting that reports about Ghanaians overseas continue to make the nation proud.
The Vice President expressed the government's appreciation for the unwavering support of the diaspora, stressing that the bond between Ghana and its citizens abroad remains strong despite the physical distance. According to her, Ghanaians abroad continue to occupy an important place in the country's development agenda. On the economy, the Vice President, Professor Opoku-Agyeman, acknowledged that the current administration inherited significant economic and governance challenges, but emphasized that government is determined to transform those difficulties into opportunities for national growth.
We are putting a halt to this whole strategy of exporting raw materials. Is enough. We must add value. And I think this is where we all come in handy. If we are processing our cocoa instead of exporting the raw beans, it means we need machines. I'm very interested in people who don't have the money to build a whole big factory. We have a small machine in the kitchen, in the garage, who can process a few bags. Once you know that we offtake the material from you, you get the confidence to do so. So that whether it's big or small, we must support everyone.
The Vice President also urged Ghanaians, regardless of their political affiliations, to put national interest first and rally behind the country's development.
Maybe I don't know how you want to approach this, but it is your country, so take advantage of it. Bringing investors must include you. Yes, nobody is making enough money to build a big factory. How about forming consortia? How about the Ghanaian diaspora in North America floating shares and running it like a business? Is it feasible? I leave that for today. Thank you very much.
She further encouraged Ghanaians at home and abroad to demonstrate sacrifice, determination, courage, and unity, expressing confidence that together they can reposition Ghana for greater progress and build a brighter future for generations to come.
Now, away from that, the National Service year gradually comes to an end. It brings some anxiety to the youth, and we are going out to the real world for employment in the current job market. My colleague Natasha Jamara spoke to some National Service personnel, and they have shared how they are preparing for the very competitive job market.
The 2025-2026 National Service year comes to an end in October 2026. Today, I'm at the University of Ghana, where I ask some National Service personnel what next for their future. Do you have anxiety for what's to come after school?
Yes, the anxiety started somewhere much because, when I started this last year, November, I knew, it was the thing that is, as a service personnel on campus, you are not being retained after you're done. So I knew after the year is over, that's the end of me working, unless I have something else to do.
How's that job search coming along?
I'd gone for like 3 interviews, and just yesterday I actually got called for one, which I'm grateful for. It's like a private tutoring thing, but searching for jobs wasn't easy. I was always going for interviews, always researching, going high and low to make sure that I can find something to do alongside NSS. But I didn't even come as quickly as I wanted it to come. So I know I found myself helping out my friends here and there with their businesses, and it was okay. It was an experience though, but I was just willing to go far and beyond to make sure that I can get something to do even after National Service.
Right now, everyone is a statistic. I don't want to become a statistic where I'm added to the lump of people who don't have jobs as unemployed youth in Ghana. So it comes with the territory of because you know that a lot of people have come before you and they are not even getting jobs, you are adding to them and you don't know how you'll be able to even get a job to begin with. So it's like a very stressful thing to know, especially when you are done with school and we are almost done with NSS.
Initially, we were all angry about National Service. I was asking myself why I should be forced to do anything. I thought I was very prepared for the workspace, for, what's the word? There's a word. But yeah, let's just say workspace. I thought I was prepared for it. It was just recently I realized that I did not have a lot of experience for office issues like the office drama, the queries. And so had I been directly or immediately transitioned into the workspace right after school, I might have suffered total depression.
A little scared, slightly sad, but excited at the same time because it's a new chapter. This was just a warm-up, and now the real deal is about to start in a couple of months. I would say I'm trying to get myself into the groove of what I'll meet, but yeah, it's still a little scary, as it will be with new chapters.
For many National Service personnel, the future seems uncertain. The ones I spoke to are actively seeking jobs as a safety net so they don't have to face unemployment. But the question still remains, for the multitude of National Service personnel, what next after October 2026?
Away from that, the Upper West Regional Police Command has secured 20-year prison sentence for a 47-year-old man convicted of incest and threatening the life of a 17-year-old biological daughter. The Law Circuit's court also ordered psychosocial support for the survivor, while the police are urging the public to report cases of sexual and domestic abuse.
The Upper West Regional Police Command says the conviction follows investigations by the Laura District Police into allegations that the 47-year-old repeatedly sexually abused his 17-year-old biological daughter over an extended period. Police say the victim was allegedly threatened with death if she disclosed the abuse. Following a full trial, the Laura Circuit Court found the accused guilty of incest and threat of death. Court sentenced him to 20 years imprisonment with hard labor for incest and 10 years for threat of death, with both sentences to run concurrently. The court also directed the Department of Social Welfare in Lora to provide counseling and psychosocial support to the survivor as part of efforts to aid her recovery. The Upper West Regional Police Command has commended the investigators and prosecutors whose work led to the successful conviction and is encouraging the public to promptly report all forms of sexual and domestic abuse to the police for appropriate action.
Let's do some more social stories this afternoon as Ghana will begin deploying condom vending machines across the country by the last quarter of 2026 as part of efforts to improve access to condoms and strengthen the fight against HIV/AIDS. The Ghana AIDS Commission has announced the machines are expected to be installed at strategic public locations including lorry stations, mosques, stadia and shopping malls to enable people to obtain condoms privately without direct interaction with vendors. The Commission is also seeking to extend this initiative to public institutions, including washrooms in ministries, departments, agencies, and financial institutions under its national HIV and wellness policy.
The announcement was made during a dissemination meeting in Accra on the 2026 HIV estimates and projections, which review the state of Ghana's HIV epidemic, identified gaps in the national response, and outlined future interventions. According to the Commission, the condom vending initiative forms part of a broader condom and lubricant strategy aimed at increasing access to prevention tools or adapting the distribution methods to the needs of different communities. Speaking at the event, Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Prosper Akambon, said the machines would be designed differently depending on the characteristics of the communities where they would be deployed. Dr. Akambon recalled that Ghana had previously introduced condom vending machines that dispensed packs of 3 condoms for 50 pesos, but the program eventually collapsed after many of the machines were vandalized. He assured the public that concerns about condom shortages reported last year had been addressed, stating that the government had procured additional supplies which are now available nationwide. Speaking at the meeting, the World Health Organization Country Office Technical Lead for HIV, Tuberculosis and Hepatitis, Dr. Kafri Senya, called for sustained efforts to reduce new HIV infections, eliminate stigma and discrimination, and ensure equitable access to prevention and treatment services.
Away from that, let's now turn attention to business. As government says, the economy is steadily recovering from prudent fiscal management, with expenditure remaining on track, improved customs revenue, and reduced spending on non-essential items to prioritize social interventions such as school feeding. But the opposition NPP disagrees, arguing that the cedi has continued to depreciate since January. Inflation remains driven by rising local production costs, and the government's fiscal policy is failing to deliver inclusive growth. These were the constructing positions presented by technical advisor to the Finance Minister, Frederick Emisa, and NPP Policy Committee spokesperson on Finance and the Economy, Fuseni Issa, on Good Morning Ghana.
The Finance Minister didn't go to Parliament to say that all is well and good. You see, it's about time we spoke truth to the Ghanaian people. These economic figures or fiscal figures, they are meaningless to that graduate who has been at home for 3 years looking for a job.
Fact.
If inflation is 5.3%, it doesn't mean anything to him. If your cedi is the strongest in the world, it doesn't mean anything to him. As long as he's struggling to make ends meet, it means nothing to him. But what the finance minister said was that the path of economic transformation, of jobs, passes through macroeconomic stability. The path to that passes through macroeconomic stability. It is a prerequisite to achieve before you can build. In this report is the exposure of this economy to SOEs and their arrears and liabilities, quasi-physical activities like happening in Bank of Ghana. We have a negative equity of 96 billion. We could say it's off the budget. It's an independent statutory body. But tomorrow, we have a plan to recapitalize the central bank up to 2032. And we should know that every dime that goes into that activity of recapitalizing the central bank is a road, a school, a clinic that is forgone. Another red flag that is raised in this supposedly stellar performance of the economy is our exposure to the energy sector. The IMF tells us that if we do not get back to the reforms that were happening in the sector as soon as practicable, by year end, we will have an exposure of $9 billion.
Now, away from that, the Municipal Chief Executive for Prestiahani Valley, Matthew Ayi, has commended the Goldfields Ghana Foundation for undertaking a key road construction project in the municipality, saying the intervention has significantly reduced the burden of the Assembly's road maintenance equipment while improving access for farming communities.
Speaking during an inspection of ongoing road construction projects by trustees of the Goldfields Ghana Foundation and the Prestiahani Valley and Takwa Nswaye municipalities, Ayi described the foundation's support as timely and impactful. According to him, the Samahu Pepesa Road serves nearly 6 communities whose residents are predominantly cocoa and poultry farmers, and its completion will improve transportation of farm produce to major market centers. The MCE explained that before the foundation's intervention, the Assembly depended on its grader to maintain roads across the municipality, making it difficult to respond to the needs of several communities. He said the ongoing construction has eased the pressure, allowing the Assembly to deploy its grader to other roads requiring urgent maintenance.
The construction of this road is a big relief, big relief to myself as the Municipal Chief Executive and the District Assembly. Hitherto, like this duty will just fall on the shores of the Assembly, but the foundation coming to our aid just to do this construction is a big relief. So we'll give a great thanks to the foundation and the Goldfields management.
Some residents of the Takwa Nswaye and Prestiahani Valley municipalities also expressed gratitude to the Goldfields Ghana Foundation for constructing the roads, describing the projects as a major boost to transportation, farming, and local economic activities.
To me, so because cars in the first in the main road and so to me to block here, ultimately station, but made the traffic from hours, about 3 hours, 4 hours. But see, I can't bet that link road better.
To be frank, I'm Hannah Debbie. I'm a papa. Since I'm to make out within 5 minutes, never made fee. Maybe you must show within a short time, never made fee. And see, my can abandon the only one line system. Face Foundation is helping, especially the catchment area, a lot. The true scholarship, water supply, teachers' quarters, the basic school facilities, the CHIPS compound that we have. They have just last year that they built maternity ward, and then including nurses headquarters. So especially for the catchment area, they are assisting us a lot.
Managing Director of Goldfields Ghana and a member of the Goldfields Ghana Foundation Board of Trustees, Elliot Chum, said the board regularly visits project sites to monitor progress and ensure projects meet the development needs of host communities. He also appealed for the extension of the company's mining lease, saying it would enable Goldfields to continue investing in infrastructure and community development initiatives across its host communities.
Off to a very good start and with very good progress, and this is one of a lot of projects that we are executing. I work for Goldfields. I know the impact Goldfields has made in the communities and on this country. So not just as an employee of Goldfields, but as a Ghanaian, I would advocate that Goldfields' lease is extended, that will continue to contribute to the economic development and socio-economic development within our communities and in Ghana.
Away from that, the Ministry of Roads and Highways has cut the sword for the construction of Gomoa-Kochi-Kwanyako Road in the central region following series of armed robbery attacks that have plagued the route over the past 2 years. The Member of Parliament for Gomoa East this month, Jigraut Piato, speaking at the sword-cutting ceremony, appealed to community members affected during the construction of the road to remain patient with their contractors.
The rehabilitation of the road seeks to improve access to farming communities, facilitate trade, create economic opportunities, and enhance the livelihoods of residents. Speaking to Metro News at the sword-cutting ceremony, Member of Parliament for Agona East, Quinsta Pokia-Soya, explained the challenges faced by community members due to the poor road infrastructure.
The President Mahama said reports happen anywhere. The representative or one what the feedback never come. So nyame adom yen so yen kwan ehia akotitu kwanyako intino me na me colleague brother MP ya die chairman President Mahama wa approve and I ba be cut so the ntiame from Monday contractors will move on it.
The Member of Parliament for Gomoa East, Desmond de Graft, appealed to the community members who will be affected during the construction of the road to remain patient and to cooperate with the contractors.
Into the Mukwanya contractor Abadwiji, Mr. Onye to the Yinyano Dinar Bisan. BB and Sinyano, no more never the BBS, the contractor with the Jumano, Obeyamasum Giava.
Nana Kotiasem, the chief representative of Gomoa-Kochi, called on the contractor to work efficiently and avoid unnecessary distractions.
It's a best contractor, no father. For more than a coin, putting a chumako film. I'm a cash not to free in a room.
Meanwhile, the Gomoa East chairman for NDC, James Donkor, has appealed to the contractor in charge of the road to create easy access for transport while working on the road.
Contractors said the kind of a moment.
He also urged drivers and tricycle riders to drive safely during the construction to avoid accidents.
Letting attention to other matters, as the family of the late Apostle Kwadwo Safo Kantanka has called on the general public to disregard any purported dates for the burial of the founder of Christo Asafo making rounds in the public domain. Addressing the news conference, head of the Kantanka family and leader of the Christo Asafo Mission Ghana, Nana Kwadwo Safo Akofena, says the family has not been able to achieve consensus on the burial of the late Apostle Kwadwo Safo Kantanka.
Today, in my dual capacity as the head of the Kantanka family and the leader of Christo Asafo Mission of Ghana, clarity on matters concerning the burial rights of our beloved father, Apostle Professor Emeritus Kwadwo Safo. Recent developments have generated uncertainty, speculation and misinformation in the public domain, and responsibility to address these matters openly and truthfully. Why am I addressing the nation? To discuss matters relating to my family and the church in the public domain. Traditionally, such matters ought to be resolved privately through dialogue, mutual respect, and established family and customary processes. Who continue to seek guidance on these matters. Efforts made to achieve family unity since the passing of my beloved father, I, together with the members of the Biana Kotoko royal family that are seated with me here, have made every reasonable effort to bring all members of the family together in unity so that we could accord him a dignified and befitting burial. Regrettably, despite these efforts, we have not been able to achieve the level of unity and consensus necessary to proceed in the manner we had hoped. personal reconciliation initiatives on my part, I have personally undertaken several initiatives to promote reconciliation and foster unity among my siblings, including my big sister, Honorable Adjo Asafo, with the sole objective of ensuring that our father's final journey will be marked by peace, harmony, and mutual respect. In pursuit of this objective, I reached out not only to members of the immediate family, but also sought the intervention and counsel of respected church elders, family heads, chiefs, queen mothers, and other eminent traditional leaders. These efforts were undertaken in good faith and with a genuine commitment to preserving family unity and safeguarding the legacy of our late father. Outcome of the reconciliation efforts, unfortunately, despite these numerous interventions and goodwill efforts, the desired reconciliation had not been achieved. This has been deeply disappointing, particularly in view of the values of unity, humility, and reconciliation that our father exemplified throughout his life. The last will and testament following the reading of our father's will, which was led by Honorable Sarah Adjo Asafo herself. Normally, we know that Yesiye Obiwie and Sana Sebe Yebie Nwelano. I expected that the wishes and directives clearly expressed by our late father would be faithfully implemented, but regrettably, in my view, the will. In particular, the Kantanka family was not given custody of the mortal remains of the late father, notwithstanding the provisions of the will. This, together with other matters in which, in my view, the wishes expressed by our late father had not been honored, has further complicated efforts to achieve unity and consensus regarding his burial and funeral rites. They now share your say your kind papa no ewulwia. Assembly obekabia. If you starting assembly media ni bi ani wa obetuma kaso wate manum asem da. Nti mo am kotwen se yenko kind will no. Your kind will no papa no mu asem anko sene obi pese beko nti no. Still, ye gusu gina biblia gina entro ene nada ene mfuto ye tugu amanfo ni egusu ekoso. Consequently, my family and I have instructed our solicitors, Kwame Jan and Associates, led by the eminent Professor Kwame Jan, Esquire, to commence the necessary legal proceedings to seek appropriate relief from the courts and to ensure that the wishes expressed in our late father's will and testament are given full legal effect. This decision has taken with great reluctance and only after exhausting every reasonable avenue for any amicable resolution. I appeal to members of Christ Asafo Mission of Ghana and the public. I therefore urge all members of Christo Asafo Mission of Ghana, members of the Kantanka family, our sympathizers, and all relevant stakeholders to remain calm, exercise restraint, and continue to uphold the values of peace, unity, respect that our late father cherished throughout his lifetime. I respectfully appeal to everyone to refrain from taking any unilateral decision or action circulating verified information that may undermine the ongoing legal process or further deepen the divisions within the family. I have every confidence that the courts will ensure that justice is served and that the wishes expressed by our late father are duly respected. It is our collective responsibility not to allow our differences to overshadow the extraordinary legacy of a man whose life was dedicated to faith, innovation, industrialization, national development, and service to humanity. It is my earnest hope that wisdom, understanding, and a shared commitment to honoring our father's memory will ultimately prevail. Assuring and closing remarks that I gave us, I assure all members of Christo as a formation, the Kantanka family, our sympathizers, and the good people of Ghana, that every lawful and appropriate effort will continue to be made to ensure that Apostle Professor Emeritus Kojo Sarfo is accorded a befitting burial in accordance with his wishes, the customs of the family, and all applicable customary and legal requirements. In conclusion, I wish to thank all Ghanaians, friends of Christo as a formation, and members of the media for your continued patience, understanding, and support during this difficult period. I ask for your prayers as we seek a peaceful, lawful, and honorable solution that will preserve the dignity and the legacy of our beloved father. Mestre Obibia said, Asembia Ekoso, a year da bia da abontini. Bia ni wanoma, I urge the members of Christo Sarfo, the nation, to disregard any date bia anasadie bia Ekoso. The Santi Kotoko family ayete hanam no. Emu bia ni wanoma edi date bia ba abontin, ebushapanyi nie, no of anomunsu nie. Ohemechia, Asore no Council of Elders, the body awa Asore no more, omuwa the mandate omutimi.
Now, away from that, the paramount chief of the Sume traditional area, Togbe Adama III, has appealed to the youth of the traditional area to reject drug abuse, violence, crime, fraud, gambling, and other social vices that could destroy their future. Togbe Adama made the appeal during the launch of this year's Sume Tutuza Festival at Adafienu in the Ketu South Municipality.
Some Tutuza was instituted by the forefathers of the Some traditional area to promote the identity, customs, traditions, peace and unity of the people. The festival also serves as a platform to raise funds for development projects within the traditional area and to support brilliant but needed children to pursue higher education. Speaking at the launch of the month-long festival, the paramount chief of the traditional area, Togbe Adama III, appealed to the youth to reject drug abuse, violence, crime, and other social vices that could destroy their future. He urged them to instead channel their energy into education, skills training, agriculture, and meaningful entrepreneurial ventures.
I appeal to you to reject drug abuse, violence, crime, fraud, gambling, and other social vices that can destroy your life or your future. Channel your energy into education, vocational and technical training, entrepreneurship, agriculture, fishing, aquaculture, tourism, technology, and innovation.
While commending the government's commitment to continue in the second phase of the Sea Defense project in the area, Togbe Adama III appealed to the relevant agencies to expedite the implementation of the accompanying project announced by the President to help restore the livelihoods of affected residents.
Without government intervention, many more communities could have been swallowed by the sea. We are therefore deeply grateful. However, the Sea Defense project must be accompanied by the restoration of livelihoods and the provision of essential social infrastructure.
The Deputy High Commissioner of Ghana to the Republic of Togo, Bright Solomon Kumoji, commended the traditional area for its development initiatives and called on other traditional areas to emulate same.
So my traditional authority, which is Sume, has seen the light that they must also be part and parcel of the developmental agenda of the recent government. So we want to be part of the education, health, road, water, schools, hospitals, etc., etc.
This year's celebration is on the theme harnessing the potential of the youth for socio-cultural preservation, economic prosperity, and tourism development to foster peace.
Away from Some, let's now head to Adan, as a Makalo of the Adan traditional area, Aguji Obichere, has called on society to mentor the younger generation to become responsible and productive citizens who take up leadership roles in the future. According to him, young people are looking for leaders and mentors to shape their lives, making it imperative for society to take an active role in their upbringing by providing proper guidance, good moral values, and quality education.
Speaking to the media during the ceremony, the Manklalo of the Ada traditional area, Nene Agude Obichere, urged society to invest in mentoring the younger generation so they can become responsible leaders and contribute meaningfully to the development of the area.
The youth are looking for leadership. In the past, we've spent a lot of time with our children. But these days we are running around to work to other places and we leave the youth to their own selves. What is happening is that they find ways that they think will be okay for them. We owe a responsibility to the youth of today. Whatever they are having is a challenge, it's a crisis to them. And we have to help them to overcome it so that they will also turn right.
The Manklalo also called on folks from Ada to embrace peace and unity, stressing internal divisions have over the years slowed the area's development despite its enormous economic, tourism and cultural potential.
I'm urging all, not just people of Kogbo, but all of Ada to come together and unite. The spirit of Ada will go forth only under unity. So I'm urging all of us. JJ is saying that this year we should focus on spiritual healing. We should make sure that things that are not good, we mend them.
The newly crowned Queen Mother, Nana Leyo Saneme, said her office would champion campaigns against teenage pregnancy and drug abuse among the youth. She noted she would also serve as a bridge between the traditional leadership and the youth by promoting education, discipline, leadership and social responsibility while advocating programs that improve the welfare of girls, boys and young women.
Because you see these days, they all takes all sort of concussions in the name of being high. But I think when we motivate them, we talk to them, we bring them closer, and they feel belonging to the community, they will change.
From that, the chief and people of Salma in the Elembela districts of the Western region have warned the government against restoring the revoked mining lease of Adamus Resources Limited, insisting that such a decision would spark unrest in the community.
Addressing a press conference, the Tufuhene of Salma, Tufuhene Kubili, dismissed reports published by some media outlets claiming that the youth of Salma were demanding the return of Adamus Resources, describing the publication as false, misleading, and unrepresentative of the community's position. According to him, nearly 4 months after the government revoked the mining lease of Adamus Resources Limited, a group of individuals who previously benefited from the company's operations allegedly issued a statement without the knowledge or consent of the chiefs and people of Salma, arguing that the government's decision was wrong. He warned that if the government hands the mining concession back to Adamus Resources, the people of Salma would stage a month-long demonstration in protest.
License no ma anja bemwa anya demonstration church for 1 month yegina yojo na ye be tell this in your office wo ye babu balaze mentia no atua president Mahama wo fellas wo so so ma kwekese no mukuye.
The chiefs and people of Salma said they are ready to support any investor who places the welfare of the community and at the center of its operations and contributes meaningfully to the socio-economic development of the area.
That's why we will not bring any unity in Esmaland. So we don't want that Adamus to be operated again. If government did not listen to our needs and still give the license to Adamus, here to Nkrofo is not far. You worked from this place to Nkrofo, that is the DC office. If
care is not taken and the government give back the company to Madam Angela and Adamus, we are going to demonstrate for full 1 month. We are going to the company site with our mattresses.
From that, the University of Environment and Sustainable Development has held a 2-day stakeholders consultation on their newly developed postgraduate programs to seek the input of people with the requisite expertise and knowledge in that field.
According to the Vice-Chancellor, some of the programs the team discussed were aquaculture, agro-waste. He said the team was made up of people from institutions and agencies such as Environmental Protection Agency, Association of Ghana Industries, Ghana Standard Authorities, Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, as well as the academia, who are helping to shape the program. He again added that bringing the academia and the industry players on board was to have their views and inputs on how they want to see a student in that area.
We are discussing our MSc PhD program in agro-waste and then in aquaculture. So that's what we are doing now. So we have people from EPA, people from Ghana Fisheries, people from Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, we have people from the academia, people from AGI, people from Ghana Standards Authority, who are helping us to shape this program in order to be able to introduce a new program is to bring in industry. So we call these people industry and academia to come and make inputs into the programs that we are doing.
Some of the participants also spoke with the media about the program.
Say that entrepreneurs who are already doing various, who are already in various fields, these are some of the courses that they should be able to participate in. Because if you are into the fisheries, now fish farming, they have a program, they even a diploma. So just not being entrepreneurial, add a little background knowledge to what you are already doing. There are so many entry levels that are being made available. So no matter your age, you can still come in and upgrade and have some background.
From that, let's now head to WAS. The Minister for States of Climate Change and Sustainability, Seyidu Isifu, has called for stronger local level action to tackle the growing impact of climate change while announcing government's plans to establish dedicated climate change units in all metropolitan municipal district assemblies across Ghana. Speaking at the sub-national stakeholders engagement on climate change and sustainability in WA, Minister said climate change is felt most acutely within communities, making local governments center to Ghana's climate resilience agenda.
The Director of Administration and Climate Finance at the Ministry, Frank Agre, who read the speech on behalf of the sector minister, said the ministry was established to bridge the gaps by coordinating climate action, mobilizing climate finance, and supporting Ghana's commitment to its nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. To strengthen climate governance, the minister announced that his office has established an interministerial and agency technical working group to coordinate national climate interventions.
To move from vision to action, we are ending the era of siloed climate interventions. First, my office, and I mean the Office of the Minister of State, has created an interministerial and agency technical working group to serve as our central vehicle for scaling up national climate action for maximum impact. Also, when we meet the interministerial committee or technical committee, the discussion is always centered on Accra. You don't hear them talking about the sub-national actions. So we feel that this engagement will bridge that gap.
The Upper West Regional Minister, Charles Luanga, whose speech was delivered on his behalf by the Regional Development Planning Officer, Ni Ajayi Lai, described climate change as one of the greatest development challenges facing the world today. He said the effects of climate change are already being experienced across the Upper West region through erratic rainfall, declining agricultural productivity, water shortages, biodiversity loss, floods, and prolonged droughts.
For regions such as ours, where agriculture remains the backbone of the local economy, the implications are even more profound. In the Upper West region, climate change is not a theoretical concept. It is experienced daily by the farmer whose planting season has become increasingly unpredictable, by the livestock farmers searching for pasture and water, by communities whose livelihoods are disrupted by prolonged dry spells and occasional flooding, and by our assemblies, which must continually repair damaged infrastructure with limited resources. These realities remind us that climate action is no longer optional. It is indispensable to our development aspirations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the government of His Excellency the President has demonstrated a clear commitment to placing climate resilience and environmental sustainability at the center of Ghana's development agenda. Through policies and programs that promote climate-smart agriculture, landscape restoration, sustainable water resource management.
The stakeholder engagement was attended by municipal and district chief executives, planning officers, coordinating directors, among others, across the Upper West region. There were power presentations by staff of the ministry on the need to combat climate change, with the MMDCs actively participating in the discussion. From the Upper West region, another engagement will be held in the Savannah region in furtherance of the ministry's resolve to decentralize.
That's where we end the news update on Good Afternoon Ghana. My name is Helen Anyeweja. There's more right after this break. Stay tuned.
The pulse of a nation, rising, unshaken. When the Black Stars take the world stage, we don't just play, we bring the storm. Fuel the dream. Support the Black Stars. Storm Energy Drink. Make your mark. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
As the days come and go, there's always shit. Let colleagues explore all the planetary bodies. Our mission is in Uranus to treat hemorrhoids, anal fistula, anal fissure, anal incontinence, hydradenitis suppurativa, using laser ligature for pain-free and speedy recovery. On Uranus Street, Accra, is Main Tuber Hospital and Coloproctology Center. Trust Uranus with us and we will delight you. Visit Main Tuber Hospital today or call us on 0244 581 541.
Madam, I'm looking for Abena.
Abena, there's someone looking for you.
Madam, please, where's Abena?
Abena, yes, ma'am. Is this who you are looking for?
Madam, please get me Abena. Please.
Della. Abena, bra.
Oh, Abena. It's not Abena rice. I can't eat any of that.
Abena rice. FDA In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal toothpaste. Kel Charcoal toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo Kendini, who be here, Semetra Sapapadia to Amame Manfo, Kel Tacos natural ingredients, and a bomb is buying, a maniswing, Nesansu Mama Hoto so a will bedroom.
Kel Taco toothpaste. Choose Kel Charcoal toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
This July, get ready for stories that will make your heart race. From love and passion to secrets and lies that can ruin everything. Catch the sizzling episodes of Sins and Roses at 4 p.m., Domenica Monteiro at 5 p.m., Be My Sunshine at 6 p.m., and Avenida Brazil at 7 p.m. Central African Time. Only on Novelas Plus, Channel 133 on DSTV.
There. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Good afternoon, Ghana, here on Metro TV with me, Desmond Okrekudan. So we're back from the weekend and here to serve God and country as we wrap up on the month of July this week. We're live on Facebook at Metro TV Ghana, also on DSTV channel 277. You can join us live on there, and also we are on 94.1 FM on radio. And so this afternoon we're getting into some conversations regarding a report on flood, and then we'll look at some other issues also that have come up from this conversation that we'll be having today. Let me just take you through that real quick, and then we can head on with the conversation, and then also just read something from the media budget review by the minister, as we have on the screen right now. So the focus of our conversation this afternoon on the environment, are looking at that on the screen from Dr. Kesha Tuforsin on Thursday when he read out the media budget review. He said that for the flood response and mitigation measures following the widespread flooding that affected Greater Accra and other parts of the country in June 2026, government sought Parliament approval to draw 350 million cedis from the contingency fund to finance emergency response interventions. On 30 June 2026, the Finance Committee, acting under Article 771 of the Constitution, or 1771 of the Constitution, approved the request. However, government was unable to access the fund because the contingency fund was subject to a garnished order issued by the Accra High Court. It continues that given the urgency of protecting lives, providing humanitarian relief to affected communities and restoring critical infrastructure, government reallocated 350 million cedis from the contingency vote in the 2026 budget to the Disaster Management Committee under the Ministry of the Interior to finance the emergency response. Now, to strengthen flood mitigation efforts across the country, government also reallocated 226 million cedis within the budget of the Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. And yes, that's to implement additional flood control and mitigation measures. Now, to support environmental sustainability, an amount of 477.4 million cedis to IRECOP has been paid. So those are some excerpts from the media budget review that the minister read out on Thursday, and this focuses on the environment, and we'll be speaking very soon to Mr. Eugene Buedu. He's Executive Director for the Center for Social Innovation and Democratic Thought, and that is an independent policy institute producing that is research and proposals on governance, resilience, and sustainable development in Ghana and across West Africa. And they've put out a report on this, and they would look into that also. And those are some of the things we'll be looking at on the show today. So do want to stay with us till the very end at 2 p.m. when we wrap up. So based on this, research by the Mr. Boadu's firm, they are actually calling for businesses to take a more active role in tackling across flooding and not just leaving it for the government. And we'll look at all of them. Mr. Boadu, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for coming. So how do you assess Ghana's situation with our environment? And largely, we've attributed the floods to that also, how we're not taking care of our environment. From your center, what's the trajectory that you've seen even towards June 29 and afterwards?
Thank you very much. Now, I'm very excited to be here to discuss this very important issue that affects all of us in the city, but by extension, that is logical, the entire country as well, because you would recall that every now and then we do hear of flooding issues in other parts of the country as well. What we are hoping will evolve from these experiences is a blueprint that will work for Accra, but that will, over time, be adapted for other regions and other places in the country. Now, the thing with Accra flooding is that it's no more, these are no more episodic tragedies. Unfortunately, they are becoming a chronic part of urban life in the city. And as such, it warrants an emergency treatment. If you look at the last flooding event in June, I think the weather people indicated that the volume was about 169 millimeters. The problem is that Accra is not really amongst the capitals in West Africa that receive the highest amounts of rainfall. Places like Monrovia, even Lagos, record higher annual rainfall than Accra. Accra's specific situation is that within a 24-hour period of time, a whole, a high volume of rainfall can fall. So whilst Accra is not one of the wettest regions in West Africa or even Africa, it is unique in that it's able to record high intensity amounts of rain within a very short period of time. Now, the drainage layout of the situation is such that you have neighborhood gutters, which feed into major roadside gutters, which then feed into channels and rivers, and then eventually it ends up in the Gulf Stream. The drainage philosophy, to begin with, of Accra is archaic. I think if you talk to it's very archaic because its conception, its layout was fit for somewhere in the 1960s, 1980s, and it has not undergone any radical transformation in philosophy and scope since then. So you add those two situations, a lot of rainfall coming within 24 hours, and a drainage system that's primarily not fit for purpose presently, and then you understand why there's overflow, why there's flood buildup, and then leading to destruction of property and life. You add to that the fact that we have a poor land use system. We are increasingly seeing situations where people are building in waterways. We are increasingly seeing situations where people are putting up structures without securing the necessary permits. Or even where, every now and then you see a building, and then the authorities will come and write remove by a certain day. It gives you a very glaring picture that when it comes to our land use policies, Accra is not doing very well. In addition to that, and this is very significant, the population has grown.
Over the past.
If you look at the drainage system as laid out in the 80s, where population was around 790,000 or so for Accra, and now where we are doing in excess of 2 million, it tells you that compounds. So you have high rainfall, you have a drainage system that hasn't evolved to meet the times, you have poor land use, and then you have a population, an urban population that keeps surging. You put all that together, and the miracle would have been that if we were not having floods, because you add all these factors and the stage is fit for disasters. So that tells us that the situation is urgent and requires emergency treatment. In June, we recorded about 12 official deaths. I'm sure the unofficial number will be way higher.
In fact, it was more than that.
More than that, But you would remember that in 2015, we recorded about 200 deaths when we had a flood issue in Accra, which then led to a trigger, you know, a gas station, sorry, a fuel station that exploded, and then so many people died. So the cost keeps building. These are preventable deaths. These are young men and women. These are, you know, fellow citizens who do not need to die. They are not sick. They are not in debt. They are not committing suicide because of the poor layout of the city and the lack of adequate planning. These people are dying.
Right. So perfectly, you've captured everything with these three, as you have mentioned, the gutters or the way the water is supposed to go through. I mean, so they give the analogy that it rains from the mountains, and water that comes from the mountains are supposed to, in fact, so you look at the flood mitigation committee and what they're doing, they're actually starting from that side, Oyarifa, and on all of those areas. So why did we not understand that this problem would occur in the future from the 60s and the 70s, where these, you know, waterways were meant for that era? Why? Then that is something that it's lost on us, that we couldn't think that in the next 20 years, 30 years, Accra would be opened up, and so we needed to do something about it.
I shared the exasperation in your remark. Unfortunately, the responsibility is collective and shared, because since the 60s to the 80s, we've had repeated governments. I think every major political faction has had its day as far as managing our resources are concerned since the 60s. And so we will have to admit that the problem is shared. The responsibility is shared. We have a not so good attitude to maintenance and to futuristic thinking and planning, and that is what is primarily responsible. But we are drawing attention to the fact that we need to take advantage of these tragedies and bring the attention and the consciousness of the nation to bear. You would appreciate that following the June flooding incident, the sense of patriotism, of commitment amongst, you know, regular Ghanaians was very high. We saw people confronting others who were dumping refuse, you know, garbage into drainages and forcing them to do the right thing and things like that. We need to take advantage of that, which is why we are proposing a 5-point agenda, which I believe we'll
get to that in a bit. But I've always also maintained, in terms of when you say it's a shared responsibility on all of that, all of us, for me, it stops with government. I believe that when the government says this and they put that in place, everybody, they are leading us, so would all follow suit. And then it comes to the local assemblies, who are the representatives in the local communities. They've let us down, really. I mean, that's what I can say about it. Because if you say shared responsibility, where does the Ghanaian come in? Because if we're talking about modernizing the drains and all of that, you know, just opening them up, for me, I can't do anything about it. Sure. It's the government that can, you know, do something about it. But let me bring this analogy before we get into that. So people who are with government now, when the floods came, put out, some of them tried to justify, oh, floods are normal. So they shared visuals from Bulgaria, from Germany, even I think last week in the USA, a hotel got flooded, you know, and so it's just to tell us that floods happen. So just opposing that with the reasons that you have given, someone may say that we are not alone. I mean, the most advanced countries flood, so we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves as a, you know, or put it to government that they are the ones who have filled us with this.
I may be forgiven by the proponents of that argument that is not an acceptable and a responsible justification. If you look at our climate, West Africa, for example, is spared the worst of climatic situations. If you look at some of the cyclones and the typhoons and the hurricanes that lead to flooding in other places.
If we experienced those in our part of the world, with what we do,
we would have been wiped out. So I think that is it's a defeatist approach to say that flooding happens. What is important is for us to look at our unique situation. It is possible, it is entirely possible, as the numbers bear out, that if we had been evolving our conception of, you know, how the cities should be laid out, if we have been a bit more responsive in our plastic management, we've now managed to get, you know, some aspects of plastic, I think styrofoam banned. If we had done that, you know, a bit earlier, if we had been a lot more responsive, we wouldn't have had flooding, because it's in our situation, in our case, it is preventable, it is predictable, and so it only occurs because we are not able to take the relevant measures. So I disagree with that. With that mindset.
In fact, really, after the race on June 29, we haven't exactly seen rain, in a while.
Yeah.
It's just been drizzling.
Exactly.
But we're being told that in August it may come again.
Well, two things are relevant there. First of all, yourself and viewers will recall that after the June flooding, I think it happened on a Monday.
It was on a Monday.
On a Monday.
Yeah.
The meteorology department indicated that it was going to return, heavy rains were going to return on Thursday and Friday, and that did not happen.
Yes.
And we need to have a responsible conversation about that, because to what extent, which is part of the arguments we are making, to what extent are the departments responsible for prediction, equipped with the modern tools? Every now and then, my phone is able to give me a prediction that is much more accurate than what I get from the news. That should tell you a lot. So the systems have evolved. It is now possible to do precision mapping, to predict the rain with a lot more pinpoint accuracy. And we need to talk about why our departments don't have that systems and those technologies.
Well, we can get into it right away, because, as you mentioned, it's a coordinated thing.
Exactly.
Because I remember after the Monday flood, June 29, almost everybody received a message.
Yes.
From the Ministry of Interior that was going to rain on a certain day. Let me see if I can find that.
I can find it.
And then we'll get into the conversation of alerting. So it's a Interior Ministry. That was on Sunday, 5th July, almost a week after.
Yes.
The Greater Accra, moderate rain likely Monday, July 6, 4 to 7 a.m., 40% chance. Low-lying areas may be flooded, avoid flooded areas, stay alert. I can tell you that on that day, not even a drop.
Indeed. And
rain happened.
And if wherever it is possible, it is important that the government refrains from putting out information unless it is absolutely scientifically sure.
Right.
Because what it does is that it destroys the basis for future confidence. Tomorrow there's a similar message, and it will carry less gravity in the minds of people.
I mean, because the one on the Thursday that you're talking about, well, I had some upsets from the Metro say that they didn't exactly say it was going to rain on Thursday. But it said Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so I knew a number of people who had to reschedule things, and then it didn't rain on that weekend. And the confidence you're talking about is there. But back to the Metro, we've engaged them a lot of times. And I have been to a conference with the Meteorological Agency. And again, it's about government. So that's why I always say it stays with government, because they are not equipped. They are crying out that the modern equipment to help with their work across the country, with the minimum that they have, they are trying. But there's much more that they can do. And so looking at that angle, then there's another problem there, because they play a very important role in making us know when it's going to rain or not, what the weather pattern is looking like for the day. Kudos to them. They are active, they're okay on social media, on X. They post the morning forecast. There's, I think, mid-morning forecast. There's the afternoon before the evening forecast on schedule. But as to the accuracy of it, that is where. So I definitely want you to touch on that, because you seem to want to talk about that.
But you see, the thing that I find, with this issue in particular and similar others in general, is that often it is not always the case that we require central government funding or central government support. Right. Often the solutions exist, except that they exist in silos and they do not speak to themselves. For instance, the telco infrastructure and the telecommunication industry have significant capacity. Look at the messages that the Ministry of Interior was able to relay. Why hasn't that been integrated into the alert system that the meteorology people use all these years? It took the emergency and the sense of urgency to sort of do that. And I think that is what is at the heart of the issue, the philosophy. Because anytime you have a certain disaster, then we rush to sort of put the fires out. What we need to build over time is a certain culture of management that requires the institutions themselves to be proactive and not reactive. I think that should be at the center of the thinking. And when we say a central government, I agree, the government of the day obviously takes responsibility. But I'm saying that where you've had a situation, I think we had June 2026, huge floods, people dying. We had 2015, huge floods, people dying. We had 1995, huge floods, people dying. In fact, it is instructive when you look at the footage because you see former President Rollins in the trenches, in the water, in the gutters, working with the people. This time around, you know,
President
JDM was in the air monitoring. So the problem has been with us, government and government. So if you are to be a bit more precise, you are going to have to look a bit deeper. And I'm saying that it boils down to the culture of management and administration, which is why it's important that we evolve the thinking and build the capacity. Because I agree that allocations are low, but some of the capacities that exist now are capable of making a huge transformation on the outcomes. And we'll get into some of them when we look at the money that has been allocated and how we can...
and so this is a very important conversation that we're having with Eugene here about the report on the flooding. Later we'll get into the conversation on what the 5 points that he mentioned here on the show. So you're watching Good Afternoon Ghana on Metro TV with me, Desmond Okrekodas, and Eugene Boadu is here with me. And there's an argument that the center says that, you know, it's not just a government's problem. And so let's draw in the bit about the economic aspect and the business problem we're having with this. What exactly is the problem when it comes to the economy?
Very good. So, you know, flood prevention is good economics. It's good for business. You would recall the images that, you know, you media men were kind enough to share with us of people's cars being washed into, you know, the river basins and into channels in Accra. First of all, that is a huge inconvenience to our fellow citizens. Imagine, we know how expensive cars are. So you get a job, you work your ass off, you break your back, and then you manage to buy a vehicle only to wake up one morning and have it washed off. Now, the business implication of that is that, number one, there's productivity loss. If you have an employee at Metro TV who is supposed to come to work and their car is missing, that whole week they are going to be destabilized. So the productivity implication on the station is real. Then you look at the insurance industry. They should publish their numbers for us to see. But they are going to have bloated claims. And that is not good for the health of that, you know, financial subsector. The insurance principle is that everybody chips in, and then those who genuinely have a problem, we use part of it to support them. We cannot have a situation where, you know, statistically speaking, the vast majority of people are coming to make claims. It will destroy the industry. And if it destroys the industry, it destroys its ability to expand, its ability to employ people, its ability to generate revenue, and its ability to support concretely to the expansion of the economy. So businesses, corporate Ghana must come to the understanding that when it comes to some of these social problems, it should not be seen as a central government problem. It is a collective social problem. And we must be looking at how we can mobilize resources, existing resources, within the business environment and redirect them at some of these targets. You know, for instance, that corporate Ghana expends, you know, a significant amount of money on CSR budgets. And a good chunk of that CSR allocation gets taken by entertainment activities, which is fine. But we can come to a certain view that because these floods are killing our people and disrupting business in Accra, we will redirect a good chunk of CSR budgets into solving the problem. And when you do the deconstruction, of course, we have the huge government-themed projects like the Garrett, you know, projects which are going to take hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, if you do the estimation, you're going to need something around $2 billion to completely overhaul Accra's drainage system. But there are little targets, low-hanging fruits that can be fixed that we do not require to raise the entire $2 billion before we deal with them. And this is where, for example, if you take the flood-prone areas, all the flood-prone areas, if we have our flood maps and we earmark those zones carefully, and we have a precision prediction system, which exists, we just have to assemble them, then what can happen is that whenever we know there's a flood, there's an upcoming storm, that will likely lead to a flood because of the anticipated volumes, targeted communication can be sent to the people in those areas. For instance, sponsored by the telcos, they needn't necessarily charge for that. And then people there can be encouraged, working with their MPs, working with the assemblymen, they can be actively encouraged to move to public centers like schools and churches. You know, when we had the June 2026 flood, churches open their doors.
Not even with this one, the Methodist Church instructed.
Exactly. So simply by shifting when the information came, people in flood areas could have left their homes and moved to those sort of shelter centers. That would have meant that at least we'll be preventing human lives from being lost. We may risk property, we may risk vehicles, but we'll not be risking human life. So that's one clear way that we can, using present resources and not necessarily calling for more funding, by redirecting and reassembling and reorganizing and re-coordinating, we can achieve a substantial outcome and say that no flood moving on will claim any life, whilst we work towards the bigger issues of drainage reconstruction and things like that.
So in your report, you talk about the business community supporting this effort by government. So you talk about investing in drainage improvement, which you just mentioned, the supporting recycling and waste recovery initiatives, sponsoring community sanitation programs, financing rainwater harvesting, and green infrastructure projects, and all of these things, we seem to know them. In fact, it seems to be there. But as to if it is being done, that's another issue altogether. There's developing business continuity plans to protect employees and operations during extreme weather events. So these things, but there are other 5 priority actions that you say businesses need to partner. So let's get into it. The first one, you talk about establishing a national flood management standard. What's that?
Exactly. So the response to our disasters in general, flood not being an exception, is that often it is contingency driven as opposed to having a national, comprehensive framework or standard. I think floods have become part and parcel of urban life to the extent that we've reached a situation where we need to have a national standard. Now, what that will allow us to do is this. First of all, it will enable us to better coordinate the various agencies that are responsible for flood situations. You talk about the local, municipal authorities having a relationship with the meteorology department, for instance. Now, let me give a very practical example, very graphic one. When His Excellency the President declared a 2-day cleanup exercise, and we applaud him for that. Well, our assessments indicated that whole exercise was about 63% successful. And we are pushing very actively that His Excellency the President should use the legislation, the legislative tools available to him, to make it mandatory moving forward. We are saying, for instance, that there should be a national cleanup activity twice every quarter, and in the months leading up to the rainy season, it should be intensified. But to dramatize the point, you had a situation where the cleanup was done, various people chipped in, you had the cleaning agencies moving around. The silt and the filth were removed from the gutters, but in most places it was left at the banks of the gutters. Now, imagine it had rained that same night. The chances that the silt would have been washed right back into the gutters would have been high. That is what we mean by the coordination.
And with that, actually, we had engaged Zoomline a lot of times on that, where some explanations were given as to why that had to be so. In fact, on that day, I think it drizzled also, talking about the silt getting into the... We're told that it has to dry up first because it may mess up with the truck. There was some explanation to that.
But these are issues of coordination because, for instance, if we know that the silt that are going to be removed, are going to be moist or wet, then the central command can instruct whatever vehicles, whatever machinery is going to be used to lift them up must have that capacity. So it's a simple organizational issue.
True though, must have the capacity to take them off.
So you don't bring a vehicle that, for instance, cannot carry wet stuff when you know very well that we are removing wet stuff. So that's what we mean by coordination. The capacities exist. We're able to get men and women into the gutters to remove the filth. His Excellency the President himself led the charge in some areas. A really beautiful display of patriotism. But by having a national command that deals with flooding, it can better organize these things so that we can optimize the work that is done. So that's one.
We have to go on a break. When we come back, I would ask Eugene, still understand that though. There seems to be a lot of, as you say, the coordination, but this time it doesn't look coordinated because there are a lot of institutions. There's the Fire Service, NADBO, there's Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Works and Housing. There are some other committees, in this case, the flood, what's the word, the one from the government, the committee that were bashing that we hadn't seen anything, the flood mitigation committee at that time. So as to how coordinated they are in the efforts to prevent the flooding, That's one thing I would ask, and how we can do better with that. And then we'll get into the other 4 points that you have raised there. We're taking a break. When we come back, the program continues on Good Afternoon, Ghana.
The pulse of a nation, rising, unshaken. When the Black Stars take the world stage, we don't just play, we bring the storm. Fuel the dream. Support the Black Stars. Storm Energy Drink. Make your mark. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
Today's class is going to be an exciting one. Now, who can share an unforgettable moment in their life? Okay, Asempa.
I'd like to talk about my first time. It was her natural look, complemented by her favorite green silky apparel that caught my attention. I have to say, she automatically possessed me with her smile, which exposed her beautiful white teeth. That's not all, her enduring signature perfume could be smelled from afar. Madam, why do you look so surprised? My first time with her was special and irresistible. I'm talking about Cindy Rice. Cindy Rice can be found in selected supermarkets nationwide.
Cindy Rice, sweet aroma, great taste. This advert is FDA approved.
Finding my dream apartment in just 2 days was a breeze with 7terragh.com. Looking for your next home, the perfect piece of land, or the best commercial property for your business? Are you worried about sending money home for property and finding nothing when you return? Well, worry no more. 7terragh.com is just a platform to find prime lands, perfect properties, or vibrant real estate development at the click of a button. 7terragh.com is your go-to property listing platform that allows you to register, list, rent, buy or sell, and connect with correct agents. With our AI-powered smart search, personalized dashboards, verified agent connection, and interactive property maps, all your property needs have been made easier. Check us out on 7terragh.com or contact us on 0302-998-246 or 0561-032-252. 7terragh.com, powered by MNC Properties.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo Kendini, who be here, Semetra Sapapadia to Amame Manfo, Kel Charcoal's natural ingredients, and a bomb is so buying, a man is swing, Nesasu Mama Hoto so a will beg you.
Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Choose Kel Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Good day, fellow Ghanaians. Dr. Adelaide Arobasiajafon is my name, Executive Director of the Jospon Group of Companies and the CEO of the African Agribusiness Consortium. By the grace of God, after several years of contributing significantly to Ghana's sanitation and waste management transformation, the Jospon Group made another bold decision a few years ago to support the transformation of Ghana's agriculture sector. As we became more involved in the agriculture sector, we realized that although Ghana has enormous agricultural potential, transforming the sector would require the active participation of a new generation of skilled and passionate young people. That is why, in partnership with the People's Friendship University of Russia, Rodin University, we sponsored 118 young Ghanaians to pursue postgraduate studies in agriculture and environmental sciences. Our goal was to prepare young professionals who will help drive Ghana's agricultural transformation. In about 2 weeks' time, these graduates will return home. They are coming back with knowledge, skills, and fresh ideas, and we are proud to welcome them home. I believe their success will not only benefit as individuals, but will also contribute to the growth of our agricultural sector and the development of our country. I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the People's Friendship University of Russia, Rodin University, for being a valued partner in this journey, and to the Embassy of Ghana in the Russia Federation for its unwavering support and commitment to the welfare of our students throughout their studies. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Welcome back. This is Good Afternoon Ghana on Metro TV with me, Desmond Okrekudan. So we're speaking to Eugene Buedu, Executive Director for the Center for Social Innovation and Democratic Thought, as we are looking at mitigating the flood situation in Accra, and also just touching on the allocation by the Minister of Finance, Dr. Kasia Atuforsen, for the flood mitigation exercise and all of the things that happened as regards to the floods on June 29, taking a lot of lives, lots of property were destroyed and all that. So, we're talking about certain things, and before the break, we're talking about the coordination, talking about the standard. Who is leading the exercise? As I'm saying, my colleague Vanessa Dutum-Boateng has been following the Minister for Local Governance. Or local government, it always changes. So that's Ahmed Ibrahim. And then there's the flood mitigating committee. And then there's the Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. There's NADMO. There's a Greater Accra Regional, the regional minister. So who exactly is leading this mitigation exercise? That is why I'm asking you, Eugene, and if you'd follow the conversation earlier, I guess it falls under getting that standard.
Exactly. So we need to clarify the process, and we need to expose the key people responsible to the positive oxygen of media, exposure. What we have seen in our governance, considering the specific challenges that we have, is that anytime we put specific people in charge of things and expose them to media scrutiny and attention, they are forced to perform. Okay. So when you leave it fragmented like that, as it is, you have the minister responsible who must act. You have the regional minister who is also concerned because it's his region, and she must show action. Mm-hmm. And then you have various committees that often are shielded from media scrutiny and public attack, and all attention just goes on the president. I think that's unfair. So what we are saying is that let's have a single flood management standard manned by a specific committee with representatives of the various institutions and the various industries with capacities to contribute to the solution, like the telco industry, for instance, on that committee. If you have that, then you're going to have a situation where before every rainy season, they will have to come and address the Ghanaian people and tell them the measures that they have taken. Not the president. The president can focus on the big level, big-headed issues. Okay. But that committee, as it exists now, and we don't need to invest new resources. We have people who go to work now every day who are responsible for these things. We are saying that have a single standard, have a specific set of, have a committee that is specifically tasked, expose that committee to public review and public scrutiny, let them update us quarterly, monthly ahead of the rainy season, and let us hold them to account. So, for example, if we had this standardized, institution, it doesn't have to be an authority. It just has to be the existing people there. Following the floods, you would have had the opportunity to call one of them to come and explain what they did and what they didn't do. We do that with the GFA, and it works considerably fine. We know that it is a single body that is responsible for managing our national football. Everybody knows that they are the ones that must put the measures in place. And it's easy to call for their heads or to praise them when things go well or when things do not go well. So the first idea is that you have too many fragmented efforts. And that means that you are spreading your resources thin. You are burning cash in this ministry, you are burning cash on that committee, and it's just not helping. Standardize that, put a specific committee in charge, and let them tell us why the floods are there, what is being done, and assuring us that nobody will die from floods moving on. So that's the first clear idea.
In all of this, and of course, looks like the first point would be the overarching point for all the other that you've mentioned in your report. But who can we learn from? Which country can we learn from? Because we haven't been able to handle the situation, and it will be a test for us if it rains again, or what's happened on June 29, between that period, what has gone on, if it rains again and we see that same problem, it's going to be embarrassing for us that at least we had some time to avert the situation, but it's happened again. But as we're trying to do that, in as much as we're trying to do that, what country can we learn from? Who is doing the world that we can say that we can, copy that and see how it works here?
Very good. So there are global standards. Netherlands has, has a good history of managing floods and, reclaiming land from the sea. They have very advanced technologies. But if we have to look within Africa and to look within low-hanging fruits, you have countries like Seychelles, Mauritius having very advanced systems as well. But for our specific situation, I think the best country will be South Africa. Unfortunately, at present, relations between us and our South African brothers and sisters are not the best. But this would offer a unique opportunity to collaborate around a constructive, instructive situation. So South Africa has very advanced flood management technologies. Cities like Durban, Johannesburg, Cape Town are amongst, the internationally most astute when it comes to flood management. You would appreciate that in all our frantic efforts, we've not involved them. For instance, we've not going to talk to them about how they can bring us technology.
It's at a very wrong time, if you look at it like that.
Sorry?
I'm saying, unfortunately, our situation and what is happening there came at a very wrong time.
No, but you see, we're Africans, right? And we are going to have to find a way to live together. So we had issues over, we have, immigration. But we should, one of the ways that we can come together is to share ideas and to transfer what works in one country into the other country. So if South Africa has a very efficient flood management system, why haven't we gone to them to ask them for the technology and for the capacity to donate it in the spirit of brotherliness, especially when we've had disagreements not so long ago. So we are calling on the institutions to engage the South African authorities so we can have the knowledge and technology transfer within a very short period of time to help with our efforts.
So the other point is restore and modernize drainage infrastructure, use technology to stay ahead of floods, transform public behavior and strengthen land use enforcement. I want you to touch on the technology bit, on how that can be used, for that we have a few minutes to go. Then we'll tackle the allocation.
Sure.
And bringing ARICOP in there and what has been doing, and even for the waste management, stakeholders in that space to help with the situation. So let's quickly talk about the AI situation.
So the technology is important. As I said, the predictive tools exist, and in these days, we do not even require capital injection. It will amaze you what your phone can do, leveraging platforms such as ChatGPT and the others to do. It will amaze you the kind of information they can give you. And I shared with you that my phone gives me better prediction than I get, generally speaking, from the news. So what we need to do now is to, once we have identified the specific body responsible, it is up to that body to marshal the existing technologies. It's not as if we need to go and buy new software. There are technologies, predictive technologies that exist. We just have to marshal them, put a specific person in charge, and for that person to use that technology to, get us the data and then to feed it into the telco system so that all of us can be getting the relevant alerts and things like that. But I wanted to talk, before I talk about the plastic ban and the styrofoam, I wanted to draw attention to the fact that we want His Excellency the President to consider legislating, as I said earlier, making this mandatory. We don't have to wait for people to die before we know that we must clean on a national level.
That was launched. It was relaunched last year.
but we had a 2-day cleanup exercise, and then the city has gone back to business as usual. We are saying that if you integrate that into the cultural framework, if it's just part of how we are thinking, look at Japan, for instance. They go to places like the World Cup and they clean up after themselves. But that is cultural engineering. Right. To do that, you need, first of all, state symbolism, the president getting involved, but you need a legislation that will ensure that it is enforced. So if you do that for a number of years, cleanliness will become part and parcel of the average Ghanaian. Okay. You would appreciate that it is commonplace, especially in the slums, for people to dump their refuse into the gutters. With social engineering, with repeated communication, with repeated advertisement, we can alter people's behavior on that level.
Okay, we have I was enjoying this conversation all too soon. We have 5 minutes on this. Let's focus on the allocation. Yeah. From the budget. From
the budget, yes.
Is that enough?
Well, it is difficult to say. First of all, if you look at the way they've done the allocations in the budget, they don't earmark specific money for specific projects. So, for instance, they identify the projects, but they fund the projects through the existing ministries. Okay. So, if you look at the Tree for Life Restoration Initiative, which has been a very, very brilliant initiative, it is not easy to, review, because the funding for projects like that, like the Galamsey fight and, renewable energy project, sustainable forestry, all these things are being funded through the existing frameworks. And one of the criticisms that we have about it is that it makes tracking a little bit difficult. Galamsey and Flood, for instance, have gotten to a point where they are worthy of national budgetary delineation, so that we can, for instance, know that this specific money is going to do this specific thing. We need a lot more publication. We'd appreciate that we have earmarked 350 million Ghana cedis, for instance, to mitigate the flooding situation. And we have proposed that money should be spent in different ways. But the important point is this: it is difficult to obtain previous publications of how similar monies were spent in the past, because we don't clearly delineate them. Yes. So on the plus side, the budget does, touch on some important things. As I said, the Tree for Life Restoration Initiative, 17 million trees has already been planted, which is good. We are told that they will be looking to plant about 30 million in the coming years. They are intensifying the joint security operations on Galamsey. It would be a lot more, heartwarming if we could have a bit more clarity into those things.
And on IRECOP?
The general point is that if we can clarify how the spending will be done directly, as opposed to just allotting them through the various ministries and their budgets.
Derek, give me the last one on the IRECOP, the last slide on the IRECOP, and then so it says that to support environmental sustainability, an amount of 477.4 million given to IRECOP, and I mean this IRECOP has been doing a lot, and in how we are handling our sanitation situation, it's been doing a lot of work. How important does this show the commitment from government that we want the situation, resolved?
Oh, I think it does. I think it shows incredible commitment from the government. It is a very welcoming thing to hear. What we need, though, as I said, a lot more transparency and a lot more accountability, because you see, we had this major situation happening in 2015. Then some 10 years down the line, it happens again. I promise you, without civil society, and all the stakeholders bringing incredible pressure to bear, in another 7-8 years, it may happen again. We may have another disaster on our hands, and we'll come here to review, forgetting the nitty-gritties of the past. So it's important that whilst we commend the minister and the government for these interventions, we need a specific clarity. We need transparency to be brought to bear. Expose the specific people that are responsible, that are going to spend this money, for media scrutiny and for public assessment. And I think that will go a long way to extract value from these allocations.
But just the final one on this, you're talking about strengthening land use enforcement. How do we do that? Because someone gets up, goes to a bare land and starts, puts up a building.
Yes. I'll tell you a very cheap way of doing it. Okay. If the National Flood Standard Committee, if they have social media channels and ways that citizens, leveraging citizens. The best way to enforce compliance and regulatory measures is to use the citizens.
Okay.
So if you have a system where all of us can report anytime we see somebody building, I tell you that it will move very, very quickly.
Okay.
So we had a situation where some activists were moving about, taking videos of people that were building in waterways and then publishing them. And you could see them running away from being recorded. So the first thing is exposure. If all of us have a way that we can record information, feed it and know that will reach the appropriate authorities, because the video and the graphic information helps. As it stands now, we all see questionable structures in our areas and we feel powerless. So a low-hanging fruit, again, requiring no budgetary allocation, is that create a platform that all of us can feed, all of us can report on, all of us can send information that will allow the media people to pick up and to follow up. And that would be a very healthy starting point.
Okay. So it's been wonderful having you, Eugene. Thank you so much for coming. I've enjoyed the conversation. Eugene Boadu is Executive Director for the Center for Social Innovation, I beg your pardon, and Democratic Thoughts. Well, this will wrap up on the show. My name is Desmond Okrekudan, so catch you tomorrow, 12 p.m. Bye-bye.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Welcome to GH Schools, your #1 training institute that offers practical-based tuition in media and a variety of skill acquisition-related areas. At GH Media School, we offer journalism and media studies, journalism and media arts, TV and film production, and multimedia production. Also, you are assured of the best beauty training with GH Cosmetology School. We offer training in massage and body therapy, makeup artistry, hair technology. Realize your dream of becoming an astute fashion designer with GH Fashion School. Here, we offer training in bridal wear, suits, ladies and men's wear, children's wear, and millinery. Do you have the interest of preparing sumptuous and tasty foods that meet local and international standards? Then, GH Catering School is the best place for you. We offer training in cookery, pastry and beverage production, events decoration, and hotel management. Be abreast with the current technological trends as you train with GH Technology School. We offer computer systems, hardware and software, CCTV installation, home security, and many more. GH Schools makes available well-equipped studios and workstations to give our learners the practical and industrial standard experience during tuition. Hostel facilities are also available. Instant admission is in progress. Register now. Purchase your admission forms online on Locate us at Achimota Abofu Junction, opposite the Shell filling station. You can also contact us on 0544 622 250, 0577 622 250, 0204 622 250, and 0277 622 250. GH Schools. We say train, practice, achieve.
Metro TV, Original TV, Original FM, and Metro Digital, under the auspices of the Office of the Chief of Staff, proudly present the Clean Conference 2026 under the theme Assessing Ghana's Progress Towards UN SDGs Agenda 2030. SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation, SDG 7, Clean Energy, and SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. Friday, 21st August 2026, 9 a.m. at the City Conference Hall, University of Ghana, Legon, Accra. With just 4 years to achieve the UN SDGs 2030, how far has Ghana come? The answers begin with one national conversation, the Metro and Original Sanitation Conference, with the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Debra. The Clean Conference, bringing together government, development partners, traditional authorities, industry players, academia, civil society, young people, and all Ghanaians. Change is not only in conference rooms, so there will be a cleanup exercise on Saturday, 22nd August 2026, also led by the Chief of Staff. Join thousands of volunteers for this massive cleanup exercise across the major streets of Accra. Metro Clean Conference. Wahuni Diema on Mining Tumpong.
Are you ready to go on an adventure across Africa with your favorite twins? Yes, that's right. Nuzo and Namia are back. Join them on curious adventures full of wonder and discovery, unexpected friendships, big feelings, and stories that unlock the power of imagination. And for parents, every episode helps your children build literacy, comprehension, emotional learning, and confidence through storytelling they'll love. So come dream bigger, laugh louder, and explore a world of wonder with Nuzo and Namia. Find your nearest station and showtimes now at nuzoandnamia.com. Bye for now.
Nuzo and Namia, storytellers traveling with you.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Love, sex, relationship. This season, we're going deeper.
If I feel like that on an occasion, I'll masturbate.
Exactly. No shame, no filters. Just honest conversations about what we really think, but rarely get to say out loud. I'm Lisa Mangaldas, and I'm back with a brand new season of Love Matters. Tune in wherever you get your podcasts.
You.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. At least 3 people have been killed and 5 others injured, including a 2-year-old child, in a mass shooting at a food festival in Seattle. Police say they arrested 1 person and are searching for another following the incident in a popular tourist district of the northwestern US city. They say the investigation is ongoing and are urging the public to avoid the area near the landmark Space Needle. The suspect in the Berlin Pride attack has been shot dead in a police operation on the city's outskirts. Police identified him as a 21-year-old man who prosecutors said had previously sought to join the Islamic State group. 1 person was killed and at least 29 injured when a van drove into a crowd near Berlin's Christopher Street Day Parade, celebrating LGBTQ+ rights. Wildfires have left a trail of destruction and are threatening the French city of Bordeaux. Around 220,000 people have been evacuated across the country. In neighboring Spain, blazes burning out of control near Madrid and in the Valencia region have forced tens of thousands of people from their homes.
Iran and the United States seem to be on the brink of restarting an all-out war. But after 13 days of attacks, the U.S. guns have fallen silent, and Tehran says it will also suspend its retaliatory attacks. It seems, for now, that both sides are giving diplomacy a chance. Mike Waltz, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, says there's still room for a deal between Washington and Tehran. Let's have a listen.
As the president said, we are locked and loaded. Even more assets are going into theater.